going to perform a clamshell with bands. Now, when you do these, you have to be aware of, it's not just about moving the leg up and down. What's more important than, well, as important, is what you do with your core. So how much you can get from your repetitions depends on your core control. It doesn't depend on how high you can lift the leg. So there are two parts you've got to be aware of when you do this move. Let me lay down. Now, I like to use a wall because what we want to do is we want to elongate your spine with the wall. So we don't want to be here or be here and have your spine out of alignment. So when I talk alignment, I mean, if I'm looking at you from the roof down, I can see that your ear, shoulder, and hip are all in one straight line. So you need a straight line there, but then when you're looking at my bottom waist, so what we've got to do is we've got to lift the bottom hip up, or not the hip, we've just got to lift the bottom waist. So we've got that gap, because now my spine is straight. Whereas if I'm here, I've essentially got a dip like that, okay? So I want to lift the bottom waist, but then I've got to get this rib to hip connection, because if you are looking at me from the roof, I've got a massive gap in my lower back, between my lower back and the wall. So I've got to get that pelvic tilt. Now, this is the foundational place from which to then do my repetitions. So as I go through my repetitions, I want to be mindful of keeping this connection between here and here, rib to hip, and keeping that lift of the bottom waist. So I don't want this to happen. Okay, so see how my midsection's moving? I'm very limited to what I'm going to get for each repetition from the glute. So lift the bottom waist, rib to hip. I might even bring my head forward a little bit so that I can get that connection between rib and hip. Now, as I go through my reps, see how I'm not taking tension off the band. So I'm not bringing it to a complete close and resting in between. I'm keeping that tension, and I only want to lift as high as what I can keep this bottom waist off the ground. So if I start to lift really high and I let go there, I've gone too far. So with anything that you're doing that's unilateral, you're doing single sides, you want to make sure that you perform the weaker side first. So you perform the weaker side and then align yourself, start your repetitions again. So I am not thinking about this. I'm thinking about this connection and this bottom waist being lifted, because the leg's going to lift anyway, all right? But this doesn't have to do the work. If I'm not thinking about it, I may set it up, but I'm going to go straight back into letting go of my midsection and then having too much movement through the pelvis. So I want to keep the pelvis in position. Oh, I'm done. My glutes are burning. Okay, you feel the love pretty quick when you get everything into position. So when you perform them, don't think about the leg. Think about the bottom waist lifting. Think about maintaining that rib to hip connection at the same time. You're going to feel the burnout, especially if you don't let your repetitions rest in between. Keep that constant tension, and remember, if you feel the burn, you're feeling the love.